The next update is concerning the CCP, or the Chinese Communist Party out in China, and they are attempting to clamp down the church. Now, the only thing I received, and there were two sort of prophecies I received concerning this, was the first one was about the actual Chinese dissidents who are fleeing the CCP and this clampdown. So what's going to happen is that people are going to be flocking into South Africa from China, as in Chinese people actually escaping this regime. And I didn't know exactly at the time when I got all of this, and I got this particular prophecy as to what this actually meant and why there's going to be so many Chinese people coming over to South Africa. And this is just one of the places where they're going to be actually being kept safe. And the reason, and I actually got it from the second, it was a dream, of course, and it was premised upon the fact that there was a school. And what I saw in this particular school was that there were workers, and I was in there, or people were actually schooling there. And as soon as you try to escape, they would behead you. So then I knew that I'm like, hang on, if this is what's actually has to do with, as far as Christian martyrdom and that sort of thing, it ties in with that, because even throughout history, anyone noticed that, look what happened to John the Baptist, that the beheading and that sort of thing of people who are proclaiming the gospel and those who are calling out sin and all those who are advocating for God's laws or God's principles and his righteousness would get that treatment. Now, one needs to also realize something. When it comes to communism is very much linked with Satanism and demonism. And then that has to do with the government having absolute control and that tyranny. Whereas when we see with God himself is a liberator. So he frees people. So these regimes, and especially particularly these world governments, particularly those that advocate for anything that's opposing Christian laws or Christian principles, are very much on board with Satan's agenda. And these guys are very open about it, because they say that, well, as far as China is concerned, they are a atheist government. And whatever I always said about atheism, that there's no such thing. They are just Satanists, and they just don't want to tell you that, because you'll be suspicious of them. So whenever somebody comes and tells you that they say they are atheists, okay, no doubt you ask them, okay, what is your justification for that? And I bet you, and I'm talking about 80 to 90% of the time, very high probability, yeah, that the main thing is that they're hiding, or they're very dishonest. And what I've realized as well, and I'm sorry to say, and I'm just putting it out there, that people who are hardened Satanists, ever look at their conduct, that for the most part, these are people who are quite dishonest. And in that dishonesty, they're also intellectually so dishonest, as far as their dishonesty is concerned. And what did Jesus say to the Pharisees? You're like your father, the devil, because he was a liar and a murderer from the beginning. Notice what he started with. A liar. So the lies actually precede the death. So this is what we're seeing in all of this. And I'm tying this in with the fact that, look, South Africa and God's plan with South Africa, and that's why we're going through all these issues, is that he is going to be pouring out his spirit, and his spirit over here is going to be established first by him getting these constituency leaders, and the communities here in South Africa is going to be quite diverse. And the resolution of that is the Prince of Peace. So he's going to establish his peace first before we rebuild. And with the help of this rebuild, it's going to bring in a whole lot of expertise, and something that a lot of people out in China, and especially the Chinese laborers and all that, will be able to do, and bring in their ingenuity to help rebuild this country. So this is just one of the facets there of that. Anyway, this is just the second update, and I'll be back with the third one after this.